Let's divorce that useless wife and get Sean married to a younger wife. That way, we can have an heir. Well, Sean might find it difficult at his age. Instead, wouldn't it be better to get Haley married soon and have an heir? Yes, that might be a good idea. My in-laws, who hadn't noticed that my daughter and I had returned home, were having an absurd conversation. Divorcing me and Sean is one thing, but treating Haley like a tool is unacceptable. My in-laws are the kind of people who would do anything to protect their status. They treat me like a servant and think it's their right to do so. They have no idea how much effort I put into supporting my in-laws and Sean. I could endure it if it was just me. But if they try to exploit my precious treasure, my daughter, I can't overlook it anymore. I firmly grip Haley's hand, trembling quietly beside me. Haley looks up at me and nods firmly, signaling our determination to fight back. My name is Emma, a 45-year-old working mom. I usually work part-time at a design firm. My only daughter, Haley, is a cute 10-year-old girl, and we used to live together at my in-laws' house. My in-laws run a small company, and my husband Sean works as the second-generation president. Although they hold executive positions, the real power in the company lies not with Sean but with my in-laws. We run a company, so money isn't an issue. How about quitting your job and focusing on household matters? When we got married, Sean made such a request, and I quit the company I had been working at since graduating from college. I was working as a designer at a decent-sized design firm, and I had some achievements under my belt. So when I quit, everyone told me it was a waste. But it's for Sean, right? He is busy with running the company, so I'll support him from now on. Back then, I truly believed that. For Sean's sake, I'll be a good wife from now on. However, what awaited me was a harsh reality. We didn't have much money, and since my in-laws' house was conveniently attached to the company, we started living with my in-laws from the beginning of our marriage. But this didn't work out well. I'll leave breakfast preparation to you. Also, you'll handle the laundry and cleaning. Unlike you, we're working, so we don't have time for household chores. On the first day of living together, my mother-in-law dumped a ton of household chores on me. At first, I obediently followed along, thinking it was just a daughter-in-law's duty. However, what's this? This omelette is not cooked at all and gross. I like it well cooked, cook it again. My father-in-law kept complaining about my cooking. Hey, Emma, there are wrinkles on the clothes. Do you intend to make us wear such clothes? Wash them again. My mother-in-law yelled at me over trivial things. Are you finding housework tough? Don't be so spoiled. We're going through much more than you. If we could switch, I wish you could take our place. Seems like Sean never tried to understand my struggles and kept saying selfish things. In that manner, from the beginning of our marriage, all three of them treated me like a convenient servant. Even in such circumstances, I never thought of divorcing Sean and continued enduring this harsh married life. Looking back now, I must have been brainwashed by my in-laws and husband. However, after our daughter Haley was born, I started thinking about her happiness, and that's when I began to question my own life a little bit. Is this really okay? While pondering such thoughts, I silently continue to do the household chores today as well. I wake up earlier than anyone else, prepare breakfast, wash a massive pile of laundry, and fold them after being dried. Good morning, Mom. Good morning, Haley. Thank you again today. Recently, Haley has been helping me with household chores, which has been a great help. After finishing the laundry, Sean, my in-laws, and Haley start their breakfast routine as usual. I clean up the dishes left on the table without taking them to the sink, bid farewell to Haley, and hurriedly get ready to head to work. After Haley was born, Sean told me, "I want you to work outside after all," so I've been working at a design firm using my past experience. Running the company alone doesn't bring in enough income. However, even though I started working outside, no one helps with the household chores. When I come back from work, I quickly clean the house, finish preparing dinner, and then assist with the office work for the company. It seems like there's no room to hire an office worker. Of course, I don't get paid for my work. I stay up the latest every night finishing up household chores, and finally, I can go to sleep. I feel so tired. I accumulated fatigue both mentally and physically due to repeating such days. However, not knowing how to change this situation, I continued with my daily life. Days filled with exhaustion continued, and eventually, my body reached its limit. Oh. I feel dizzy. One day, I was hit by severe dizziness at work and collapsed right there. A concerned colleague took me to the hospital, where the doctor informed me that it was due to fatigue. For now, let's administer some 4 fluids and monitor your condition. I lay on the bed, staring blankly at the 4 dripping slowly. The colleague who accompanied me was sent home first. I didn't want to burden them with this situation. Oh, right. I should contact Sean. It was midday when I collapsed, and even if treatment went smoothly and I could go home safely, I wouldn't make it in time for dinner. Besides, it was clear that this lifestyle was the cause of my collapse. If Sean knew I collapsed, he might reconsider and help with the household chores. With such faint hope, I made the call, but... What? You collapsed? Yeah. So, can you pick me up from the hospital? Also, can you take care of dinner? Why do I have to do that? I'm busy to the point of needing an extra pair of hands. I was stunned into silence by Sean's words. I'm the one who collapsed. Oh no, causing trouble as always. It's probably nothing serious, right? I won't come to pick you up. Come home by yourself. Buy something for dinner on the way back. With those words, he hung up without waiting for my response. After finishing the 4, I recovered enough to walk alone. Suppressing the urge to cry, I bought dinner for everyone at a deli on the way back. Mom, what's wrong? It's unusual to have prepared meal. Well, actually, I was at the hospital until just now. What? Are you okay? After returning home and learning about my collapse, the only one who worried about me was Haley. My in-laws grumbled about the taste being too strong or the meals being bad. Sean acted as if nothing concerned him and silently ate his meal. Since collapsing at the hospital, I had been coming home late due to certain circumstances. After that day, Haley started helping with household chores more than before, but I couldn't burden her further. I once asked Sean to explain the current situation and make improvements. I just want you to help with household chores a bit. I work outside too, you know? If things continue like this, I might collapse from fatigue again. However, Sean just looked annoyed. Haley is helping, so it's enough, right? Haley is still a child, you know? It's not right to burden a child with household chores. It's fine. It'll be good practice for her growing up. He didn't take it seriously at all, as usual. Moreover, lately, I had been coming home late frequently. This caused a delay in finishing household chores, and my sleep time decreased every day. And on this day, an event occurred that further pushed me to the edge. Why are you coming home so late? You've been coming home late a lot lately. Could it be that you're cheating? My mother-in-law seemed to snap at my continuous late returns. She waited in front of the house to ambush me and started lecturing me right away. You lack awareness as a wife. We work hard, yet you're out playing around. I haven't been playing around at all, and of course, I haven't been cheating. However, my mother-in-law jumped to conclusions and continued to blame me persistently. You couldn't give birth to a successor, you useless woman. We're allowing you to stay in this house. Don't you have enough gratitude towards us? My mother-in-law has always been obsessed with having a successor. However, there are no grand assets in this house to inherit. There's just a rundown company that can't continue without relying on my income. Yet, my mother-in-law uses this as a topic to criticize and belittle me. What are you doing, Grandma? If Haley hadn't noticed the commotion outside and come out, my mother-in-law's lecturing would have continued. Haley, come inside. I heard loud voices because Mom came home late again, and now Grandma's lecturing is making her come home even later. That's delaying dinner, and everyone will get hungry, you know? With Haley's calm remark, My mother-in-law reluctantly went back inside the house. "Thank you, Haley." "You're welcome, Mom." "Welcome back." Seeing Haley's smiling face, I couldn't help but feel like crying. A month later, I was still having late returns home. My in-laws and Sean seemed to have gotten used to my late returns. As long as I did the household chores properly, there were no complaints, and peaceful days continued. However, on that day, I returned home early and happened to meet Haley on her way back from school, so we walked home together. Haley was happy to walk home with me, and she had a cute smile on her face. Upon arriving home, I opened the front door quietly as usual. I didn't want to cause any fuss and get scolded by my in-laws. Out of habit, I quietly went to my room with Haley. Then, I heard this conversation between my in-laws from the living room where the door was closed. "Let's divorce that useless wife and marry Sean off to a younger wife. That way, we can have a successor, right?" Well, considering his age, that might be difficult. "Oh, come on, Sean is still young. Besides, he's the company's president. Don't you think there are women flocking around him? Whoever it is, they'd be much better than that incompetent woman." Realizing that the words useless and incompetent were directed at me, I inadvertently stopped in my tracks. I've been insulted to my face with such words many times before, so I didn't feel hurt now. However, the next words from my in-laws made my blood run cold all over. "Instead, wouldn't it be better to marry off Haley quickly and have her produce a successor?" "Yes, that sounds good. By the way, I have a friend whose son is still unmarried. Once that child graduates high school, we should have him marry Haley." My father-in-law responded with laughter, finding something amusing. "Hey, hold on. How old is your friend's son? He's probably too old for this, isn't he?" "Oh, how rude. He's still a young man at 30, so don't worry. Even if we wait until Haley graduates from high school, he'll still be in his early 30s. Marriage between a teenager like Haley and a man in his 30s. It felt too grotesque to contemplate, and I felt the world go dark before my eyes. Are they not concerned about forcing an unwanted marriage on their granddaughter? Probably not. While my in-laws might find their granddaughter adorable, their own desires and ambitions come first. For them, securing a successor is more important than Haley's feelings. Feeling shocked by this revelation, I finally snapped back to reality. Next to me was Haley. I wondered what my daughter thought upon hearing this conversation. Timidly looking at Haley, I saw tears in her big eyes, her pale face turned towards me. "Mom!" Those eyes were pleading for help from me. If I kept Haley in this house, I didn't know when she would become a sacrifice to my in-laws. Since Sean was one to avoid conflicts, he would never step in to help Haley. I took a deep breath. Then, I firmly squeezed Haley's hand. "Don't worry, Haley. Mom is going to do something from now on, so listen to me carefully." I was determined to protect this child at all costs. With that resolve, Haley nodded slightly. And then, I raised the banner of resistance. Several hours later, I received a call from my mother-in-law. I was too busy with something important to answer, so I ignored the call. It wasn't until nearly midnight that I finally had a moment of peace. Even at that late hour, my mother-in-law continued calling persistently, prompting me to sigh in exasperation as I reluctantly answered the phone. "What is it? What is it? That's not how you answer. What are you doing at this hour?" Taken aback by my mother-in-law's frantic tone, I instinctively pulled the phone away from my ear. As expected, her reaction was within the anticipated range, so I responded in a very calm voice. "I cannot disclose my location." "Oh, don't worry about Haley, she's with me." "Where are you exactly? Come home right away. How can you be such an unreasonable wife?" My mother-in-law kept screeching, and I let out a deep sigh. "I'm not going to tell you where I am, and I won't be returning to that house anymore. Haley and I have moved to a separate apartment, so please take care of the household chores yourself." "What are you saying?" The loudest voice I had ever heard from her made me pull the phone away from my ear again. She lives in a standalone house, and I couldn't help but wonder if her loud voice was causing a disturbance in the neighborhood. Despite this misplaced concern, I decided to explain patiently from the beginning to my mother-in-law, who was on the verge of losing control. Actually, I've been looking for an apartment where Haley and I can live together for a while. Living in that house was unbearable. So, I found a good apartment, signed the lease, and have been gradually moving our belongings and preparing for a new life there. The reason my return home has been delayed recently is because of this. Yes, I had grown tired of living in that house a long time ago. My decision to leave was made on the day I collapsed from exhaustion. If I had stayed in that house, I would surely have reached a breaking point in the near future. What would happen to Haley then? Faced with that thought, I made the decision to leave to protect Haley and myself. After that, I immediately started looking for an apartment, signed the lease, and continued preparations for our new life. As we moved our belongings out, our personal items dwindled, but neither my in-laws nor Sean noticed any of it. It was frustrating to realize that they only saw me as a convenient servant. Although they treated Haley with some affection as their grandchild, they showed no interest in our lives. This incident made that clear. So, I had been preparing for the move for some time, but the actual departure date was supposed to be a bit later. However, after hearing my in-laws' conversation that day, I realized it was an emergency and swiftly escaped from my in-laws' house with the remaining belongings. Thanks to having moved most of our belongings already, I was able to leave quickly. Otherwise, I would have had to make multiple trips to retrieve our things if Haley hadn't been with me. So, I won't be returning to that house. All our belongings are already moved out, so there's no need to go back. Oh, and the items left in that house are no longer needed, so feel free to discard them. After hearing my explanation, my mother-in-law seemed speechless. From the other end of the phone, I could hear voices like, "Hey, Mom. What's going on?" or "Let me talk to Emma." My father-in-law and Sean must be right beside my mother-in-law. Since there was no response, I was about to hang up, but in the next moment, my mother-in-law suddenly shouted something, and her loud voice startled me so much I almost jumped. "You kidnapper! Return my grandchild! I don't care about you, stay away from home if you want, but Haley Chan is our precious family member. Give Haley back!" I couldn't help but almost burst into laughter at my mother-in-law's words. A precious family member? How can you say such a thing? Are you trying to marry off your daughter to an unwanted person and make her have a child? I won't hand over my precious daughter to such an abomination. She probably didn't expect me to have heard that conversation. I could hear my mother-in-law swallowing hard. Moreover, is it necessary to be so obsessed with having an heir? Besides, there are no assets worth inheriting in that house, right? We need an heir for the company. Who would want to take over a company that can't even make a profit and is in shambles? It would be better to let you go out of business. That way, they would have less expenses and be able to afford to live in their old age. However, my mother-in-law probably wouldn't agree to this proposal. She is unhealthily fixated on the role of being a company executive's wife. She even behaves with an attitude of superiority towards other housewives in the neighborhood. Because of this, my mother-in-law is disliked by everyone. Though she is being watched from afar by everyone in the neighborhood, she mistakenly thinks they are all envious of her position as the wife of the company president. My father-in-law, too, doesn't want to give up the status of being a company executive, so he will do anything to keep the company running. Those people prioritize their social status above all else. They would even sacrifice their granddaughter to protect their pride. While Sean isn't as obsessed with their current status as my in-laws, finding a new job after leaving the company would be difficult since he has never worked elsewhere. Besides, he would probably say he doesn't want the hassle of quitting and job hunting. In short, all three of them only think about themselves. They are the worst kind of people. I understand their personalities well after living with them for so long. I knew they would never agree to this proposal, but I couldn't help but say it out loud. Oh, there's no way someone like you, working a part-time job, can raise Haley, right? Thinking she was going to pull that card this time, I immediately retorted. Me working a part-time job? What are you talking about? I'm a full-time employee, you know? Huh? Since when did you become a full-time employee? My in-laws and Bob had the mindset that as long as I was earning money outside, anything would do, so they hadn't noticed at all that I had become a full-time employee. One reason for my late returns was progressing with preparations for our new life, but another reason was being busy as a full-time employee. After I collapsed, the president of the design firm was worried and offered to help. Feeling exhausted, I explained everything to him. Then the president said, "Well then, why don't we officially hire you?" It was a grateful offer. It probably helped that before getting married, I had gained experience as a designer. Even though I was a part-timer, I had been steadily producing results, so the president had been thinking of promoting me to a full-time employee eventually. I didn't just leave unplanned like that. I won't say we'll have a comfortable life, but Haley and I can manage financially, so don't worry. I know life will become difficult for you at your house without me, but well, there's nothing we can do about it. If you really want to continue with the company, why don't you go out and work this time? However, my mother-in-law had never worked anywhere other than that company, and besides, she was already over 70 years old. She didn't have any special skills or qualifications, and even before that, her personality. It would be quite difficult for her to find another job. Even if she did manage to find a job, I'm sure she would end up arguing with others and wouldn't last long. I could easily imagine that and almost burst out laughing. Maybe my mother-in-law herself understood that because she couldn't come up with a good retort to my words. Oh, a useless incompetent like you can't become a full-time employee. I was serious about my work and gaining experience before getting married, you know. If I hadn't quit back then, I would have had a decent position in the original company. I still regret quitting my job at Sean's request. In the end, we ran short on money, and I had to go back to work. I think I should have planned my life more carefully. However, from now on, I can't afford to make mistakes anymore. It's not just my problem alone. If I make the wrong choice, it will also affect Haley's life. As Haley's mother, I have to be prepared for that, and that's why I left that house. It's so noisy and chaotic, muttered my mother-in-law, unable to come up with a good retort. Then, my mother-in-law played her last card against me. I'll find you and bring you back. I'll use any means, even a private investigator or detective agency. Oh, by the way, I have a friend who's a lawyer. I'll ask them to sue you as a criminal. However, I sighed in disbelief at her pathetic last resort. She's threatening to sue me as a criminal, but what crime could she possibly charge me with? Besides, the claim that my mother-in-law has a lawyer friend is definitely a lie. She's fundamentally condescending and contemptuous towards others, so she wouldn't have such a wide social circle. Well, is that so? Actually, I live in an apartment managed by my father's business. My brother lives next door because he's worried about me, but if it's okay with you, you're welcome to come anytime. However, my mother-in-law chuckled dismissively at my words. So what if your father and brother are nearby? It doesn't change anything. We have 2 men here too. Could it be that my mother-in-law has completely forgotten about my family? Because she's treated me like a servant for so long, it seems she also looks down on my family in the same way. So, I decided to educate my mother-in-law about my family again. My brother is a former self-defense force member and now he runs a gym. He's much stronger than Sean and father combined. Besides, my father, who manages this apartment, also manages several other properties. Due to his work, he has connections with lawyers, you know. Yes, my brother used to be in the ground self-defense force until recently. He loves working out and continues to train at his own gym even after leaving the self-defense force. Thanks to that, he's quite strong. And my father has far more power as a manager compared to my in-laws. He's successful in managing multiple real estate properties, has plenty of money to spare, and it's not a lie that he has a lawyer acquaintance. In fact, I've already consulted with that lawyer and got a recommendation for another lawyer who's good at handling divorces. There are several reasons why I didn't rely on my dependable family until now. First, I was heavily brainwashed while living in that house. I had been brainwashed for so long that serving as a maid became natural, and I continued under that influence until the day I collapsed. The main reason, however, was that I didn't want to worry my family. When I got married, when I gave birth to Haley, my family couldn't have been happier. They genuinely wished for my happiness. I pretended to be fine all along because I didn't want to cause them any concern. Looking back now, I realize I should have asked for help sooner. I didn't divorce Bob because I was brainwashed and because I thought it wouldn't be good for Haley. If Haley ever considered marriage in the future, having only one parent might make the other person wary. Whenever such thoughts crossed my mind, the word divorce drifted further away from me. However, if I didn't divorce, Haley would be in danger. That day, I finally woke up after hearing my in-laws' conversation. By the way, my brother is married and usually lives in a different place, but he's agreed to stay in the adjacent room as my bodyguard for a while. His wife is very cooperative and has approved of him living in the neighboring room. In fact, she's quite enthusiastic about it, saying it's like having a vacation home, which is nice. Thanks to my understanding family, I can now spend time with Haley here, feeling safe. When I informed my mother-in-law that I had consulted a lawyer, she was speechless again. Then, in a strained voice, she said, "Being consulted by a lawyer doesn't prove we did anything wrong. I have, of course, recorded all the abuse I would like to receive from you people. I have already submitted these records to my lawyer. My lawyer says that if I sue you, I will win. You know a lawyer, don't you? This one is prepared to divorce us even if it takes us to court, so please tell that lawyer as well." I know my mother-in-law doesn't have a lawyer acquaintance, but I deliberately provoke her by saying so. In response to my words, my mother-in-law muttered something on the other end of the phone, but I couldn't hear it clearly. The lawyer I hired was speechless after reviewing the evidence of the bullying I've endured. I had been subjected to such terrible treatment. Realizing I hadn't noticed these things until now, I felt like an absolute idiot. But I can't afford to be an idiot anymore. Taking a deep breath, I spoke to my mother-in-law in a clear tone. "If you agree to a quiet divorce and give up custody of Haley, I won't pursue this any further." "Wait. How are we supposed to live if you're gone?" I was on the verge of getting angry at such a statement. In fact, there might have been a hint of anger in the words that followed. "Enough already. You've treated me however you pleased, worked me to exhaustion without a single apology. Let me be clear, you are not normal human beings. It's not just a matter of being unreasonable. Whatever terrible things happen from now on, it's your own doing. You reap what you sow, whether you struggle in life or end up in dire straits, it's none of my concern for me and Haley. No matter how bad things get, I won't sympathize or care." With this clear statement, my mother-in-law finally seemed to grasp the reality in front of her. Since then, she remained speechless, so I hung up without saying anything. Stretching myself and looking forward to a free life starting tomorrow, I felt a surge of joy. Later on, through my lawyer, I filed for compensation from Sean. He resisted quite a bit, but when the lawyer mentioned going to court, he got scared and ultimately agreed to the divorce under the conditions we proposed. He insisted on meeting me and Haley one last time, so I agreed to meet with my in-laws and Sean under the condition that my brother be present. "Please, come back. I finally realized how important you are to me." Sean is saying like this, "Isn't there a way we can work this out? If you're unhappy with our past life, we can make improvements. Haley, you want to be with Grandpa and Grandma, right?" As soon as I heard this upon meeting them, I regretted coming, wishing I hadn't. Enough already. However, what interrupted my words was Haley, who was beside me. "Mom and I won't go back." "Why, Haley? Are you okay without Dad?" "Yeah, I'm fine." Haley replied without hesitation, leaving Sean dumbfounded. "Huh? It's easier for both Mom and me without Dad. When Mom was suffering, he did nothing. If that's the kind of dad he is, it's better without him." Then, Haley looked straight at the grandparents and continued. "I really hate Grandpa and Grandma. I don't want to be with you anymore. I came today only because I was told you really wanted to see me. But from now on, even if I'm called, I'll never come. Mom and I are having a lot of fun together. So, please don't interfere with us. Haley's clear rejection of the three stunned everyone present. Haley. I was the only one who hugged Haley, half in tears. I regretted letting Haley say so much as a child, mixed with regret and admiration for such a reliable ally. That's not. My mother-in-law, rejected by her granddaughter, collapsed in tears on the spot. My father-in-law muttered, "This can't be true." Unable to accept the reality before him. What have I done? Sean seemed to regret his actions, his face turning pale, but it was too late for everything. Leaving the three in despair, we silently left the scene. Our life afterward has been so filled with happiness that it's difficult to compare to our past life. Through the lawyer, we've made it clear to the three that there should be no contact, so it's probably okay now. I'm busy with my job as a full-time employee, but with the cooperation of my real family, I'm living happily and contentedly every day. Mom, are you okay now? For a while after the divorce, Haley asked me anxiously several times. Every time, I replied with a smile on my face. Yeah, I'm okay now. I'm the happiest I've ever been in life right now. Thanks to you being my daughter. Thank you, Haley, for being my daughter and staying with me. Saying that, I hugged Haley tightly, and Haley hugged me back. I'll protect this precious treasure as long as I live. With a strong determination in my heart, I'm living my life to the fullest today as well.